Go. Hi, everybody. So I had David Cowan here with me today, and he's going to ask some questions. And that's about it. We're just going to go through and have a conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Yeah.
How you going, honey?
Good. I'm doing good. Feeling good. Yep. I'm home.
Yeah, good to have you
Yeah.
back home.
Yeah. I'm glad to be home. Yep. Oh, there's another
Yeah.
one.
Oh, I missed it. I missed it. We were
Yeah.
talking about orbs. We're just seeing orbs flying around. It's a bit hard to see, like on a white wall if it's not dark, isn't it? Like, if it.
Yeah. I don't ever see them. I don't know.
I
On my
think I think
camera.
the lighter
Yeah.
it is, if it's makes them harder to see. Having said that, though, I have seen a couple of videos of people shooting like in their car, and they're just being surrounded by these things. It's
Oh,
interesting, like
cool.
during the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
All those cool spirits. I like the
Yeah.
orbs because you know that they're good pretty much. So you don't have to be thinking about, oh, is this good or bad? Yeah.
The uh, the galactic cat's been visiting me quite a lot recently as
Oh,
well.
fun.
For anybody who doesn't know, I got psychically attacked earlier this year, and I thought there was this thing that appeared in my room on my bed all the time, and I thought it was the bad entity that was attacking me, but it was actually protecting me. And so this thing keeps coming back, and it's quite funny because it's a little cat. I think it feels like a cat, and it jumps on your bed, and it comes up to your pillow, and sometimes I hear it purring and stuff, so it's pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun. Yeah. Probably a cat from another lifetime I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cats are great protection for entities because they can see them.
Right. Yeah, I've got two cats as well. Sometimes
That's
but
good.
then sometimes when I was being psychically attacked, the cats didn't want to come near me, because my vibration was really low. They were
Mm,
kind of wary of me. They were a
yeah.
bit scared, so that was interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
But speaking of vibration, we've seen. I'm sure everybody's seen these videos of these animals walking around in circles, from sheep to big birds, and sometimes even ants and little insects and things walking around. They're always walking around a set something central. There's always a thing in the middle. You mentioned that it was a frequency shift. What's causing that frequency shift?
Earth, Mother Earth.
The
So
entire
Mother
thing.
Earth had like this emission, and she's still doing it, of violet light. So all those pictures of like purple skies and stuff. So it's violet light coming
Yeah.
out of the center, and that's causing the animals are just like, what's going on? So they're circling.
Right.
But I kind of see it as they're trying to show us that there's a center
Mm.
of Earth.
Okay.
But it's actually really good. It looks scary to people, but it's actually just they're showing us. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very ominous. Yeah, it
It
looks
does.
very
It looks
strange.
like they've been attacked by some sort of nefarious 5 and then G, but
Yeah.
it's not that. It's Earth has shifted. So they're also trying to adjust their own frequency, I think, because a lot of
Right.
animals, they're ascending too. So they
Mm.
have to kind of get it together and not be discombobulated by the frequency. So they're learning.
Is
Yep.
our North Pole the very center of Earth?
Hmm.
It is.
Yep.
Like the very center of the entire thing.
Yeah. So basically the center of Earth is a crystal, and then you have the outside of Earth, but that crystal is what it points, the North Pole points to the crystal. And it's not
Mm.
north. I mean, the whole thing is all out of whack as far as the way they say it looks like on the map.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course. Of
of
course.
course. Yeah.
The So the ice wall then, what's an update with the ice wall?
Ice
Is
wall
that
is
nearly
gone.
it's gone completely?
Yep. So we're just waiting for
All
some fishermen to
all
decide
around?
all the way
All
around.
around.
Yep.
Okay.
And I feel like it's going to be a boater. that discovers it. Somebody
Still
that
land
gets
there, though, isn't
off
there?
course because there's more land. Yeah.
Right. So there's still beyond the ice wall, or how thick was the ice wall? Like how wide? Like,
It was miles thick. I get 50,000 or 50, what is that? How do you go? So like we're at 8,500 feet, but it was basically like 50,000 feet tall. So
right.
it's been coming down for a while.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Oh,
Fifty
well
thousand
over a
feet.
mile thick,
Mm.
probably several miles.
And was there any land under the wall, or was the land behind the
In some
wall?
places there was land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's all
Yeah.
like soggy now, I'm getting. The land that was under it, like it's still absorbing some of the water.
Did the animals move there to the land?
There's lots of animals on the land outside the ice wall. So in between the dome and the ice wall, there's all these continents, and there was lots of animals there.
Mm.
I don't feel like the animals have really deviated too much and just started to reintroduce themselves to those lands yet.
A lot of animals would have lived on the wall, wouldn't they?
Some did, especially near Antarctica, I'm getting. So they moved
Yeah.
in. They moved further in, I'm getting. So
Okay.
closer to the dome.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was
And
the same land that they already kind of knew about.
yeah. And the dome, is that gone? Or I mean, oh, it's not gone yet, but where
It's
are we at with that?
it's not in the best shape. I'll
Mm.
say that. There's places where you're looking at holographic sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it dependent on the consciousness of the area? You know what I mean? So if somebody's living in an area which is an average of quite low consciousness, would the dome be thicker there?
No, I feel like a lot of it is so there's a grid, like a frequency grid that's keeping that dome in place, and the frequency grid had damage. And that was
Mm.
from consciousness like elevating. But also I feel like there was some like fights and stuff between good and bad. And they
Yeah.
actually caused some damage to that frequency grid.
Okay.
Yeah. So they couldn't repair it all the way. So
Right. Right.
had to put like a hologram over the top of it.
Like
Or
that. Like
clouds. Like some places have had clouds for like months.
the same clouds.
Yeah. I had a cloud out over the mountains here. And I want to
Mm.
say it was probably in the same place for 30 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm
interesting.
like, that's not normal.
That's funny. Yeah, that'd be quite interesting
Yeah.
to see.
So that was funny.
Yeah.
But there was communication going on, I'm sure, inside that cloud.
Are there any battles going on in Antarctica?
No, I feel like it's all over. The good
But
guys
there
have
were
won.
there were battles
Oh
like a
yeah. There
war.
were a lot of battles, especially like a year ago. I feel like there was a ton of battles. All the way up through July, there were still battles going on like all around. I had friends who would come, they'd wake up with like bruises and stuff. And
Oh wow.
we
Okay.
tap into it, and I'm like, oh, you're like fighting. You're off
Like a
fighting at
secret
night.
soldier. Yeah.
Yeah,
What percentage of the population would be in that position, do you think?
5, not very much,
Okay.
5%. And most of them are completely unaware.
Mm. Right.
Yeah.
I think I sent you the video actually. It was a Gene Decode and Nick Veniamin video. I don't know if you watched it, but at the start,
Not yet.
it was quite close to the start. You didn't watch it?
Not yet. No. Go
Not
ahead.
yet. That's okay. He mentioned, Gene mentioned that with the war going on in between those two countries that we probably can't
Right.
say. Uh,
The
he
you and the
said
our
that,
country. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said that what's going on there, yeah, because we see things on the media, and there was a video I saw where somebody was going to all these different quote unquote war torn sites. Did you see that one? And it was a video, and he was showing uh, a video. Oh, he showed the video. I don't know how did it work. Like he had a picture. I think he had a picture of the war torn site. Then he pulled the picture. This was a live. Wasn't a live video, but it was a video. So he had the picture there. He took the picture away, and then behind the picture was the actual site, and it was untouched, completely untouched. And
Yeah.
he went around to all these different these places in that country. And I'm not saying there's nothing going on there. I think there's definitely things going on there. I think some places have been blown up and things
Yeah.
like that for sure. But he was going to, he's like 10 or 12 different sites, and they were all normal, fine. Life is normal. Nothing had been touched. Nothing had been changed. But the pictures that he had, which I assume were posted, were posted on the media or somewhere, were
Yeah.
showing it's just completely war torn. So
Yeah, that feels true to me. So that's accurate, I would say. There are places that are pretty messed up. And I feel like a lot of people have been stuck in their homes too. So like services have been disrupted, like the electric and the water and those kind of things. In a lot of places I'm getting. So there's a lot of people that have had to be in hiding. But
yeah,
they wouldn't necessarily have had to been. It's just they've been told they need to be. So some of it's really terrible and some of it's not. Like it's way overblown.
because what Gene said, which is interesting, he said that in the war, in the battlefields, they're actually fighting other beings from other worlds. He said, and the Russian troops are actually fighting these things and killing some of them too. And he said that I haven't seen this footage, so I can't verify it. But he said that the media is showing footage of these bodies, and they're blurring out the footage because they don't want anybody to see what the actual thing is that's lying there.
That sounds like I had received that there were a lot of yucky things that came up from underground.
Yeah.
And they were like experimented on. So,
Oh, okay.
like a werewolf style thing or, this kind of stuff. So basically abominations.
Like a hybrids, yeah.
Yeah, hybrids. And these beings are very stressed out. They've just been survival mode only. So they've been very dangerous actually. And there was a lot of having to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised,
What
and
about alien beings?
I've seen a picture of one of them too.
Yeah, I've seen one.
Got it on a game camera.
Yeah. He was saying it was more like archons and reptilians and draconians and things like alpha draconians and things.
I'm not getting
No.
it. Yeah.
No, okay.
But that
That'd be
might be
interesting, though.
how he understands it,
Maybe.
I'm getting it was the hybrids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
don't
I've
think
seen a lot
there's
of.
any archons anywhere around.
What are the archons? They're not reptilians, are they? They're a different
They're
kind of
like
thing.
robotic.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they?
Purple.
Are they? When you say robotic, do you mean that they have wires and things inside of them, or they just act like that? They just act robotic.
They're a race that allowed themselves to be completely taken over by the Greys and then turned into like a robotic race.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what kind of abilities do they have?
They just don't ever stop. So
Yeah.
they don't feel pain. So they just keep on going. So when Hurricane, was it Ian, I think it was called, down in Florida, the first really bad one, I received that there were, and I was in the middle of a conversation with somebody, and it was like, she's like, oh, the archons. And I didn't know who that was. And then what I did is I saw what they did on the bottom of Earth. And they created something like the Grand Canyon. So they really blasted the bottom of Earth, created all of this chaos. And all that yucky energy translated into Ian actually being stronger than it was supposed to be.
Okay.
So the storm was turned into a worse storm just because of the energy, but the ETs took care of the archons, so they're gone and banished, just like the Greys are gone. But it was like a really bad event for a lot of the beings down on the bottom of Earth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was recently, was it?
Yeah, I want to say Hurricane Ian was only like 2 or 3 months ago. Like it wasn't very long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some crazy flooding. I think it's everywhere. Everywhere. It's pretty much experiencing some sort
Yeah,
of
the weather
same
is nuts.
weather event. Yeah. I know we're supposed to be having a really hot summer here where I am, and over east they're predicting a lot more rain over summer.
Yeah. Well, I think the weather machines are a little out of whack. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if outside of the dome is starting to affect inside of the dome, because the
Okay.
outside is temperate. So, but there's holes.
So that's in a good way then.
Eventually it'll be really good, but I think it's destabilizing stuff even more than
Yeah.
normal. And they really want there to be seasons, like the white hats want there to be seasons because that's what people are used to. But I don't feel
But
like
not so
we
extreme.
really have them without the weather machines right now.
Is the only reason why we have seasons because of the weather machines, or what would it be like if there were?
Temperate.
Because I guess if you think about it, where I mean, because what we think is the Earth, this isn't actually the Earth, is it? So we think that because we're in this one area. So yeah, the east may differ from the west and the north and the south. What we think is that,
Yeah.
but we're all in one spot. It's not like we're on polar opposites. So
Yeah, like the earth is, I don't know. It's like the earth is like big, let's say this is the earth, but then we're on just a little piece of it. So like my fingernail is where we're sitting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Does so and the real Earth on the big one is the weather? Does the weather vary greatly from top to bottom or east to west because it's so enormous?
It's just temperate. So if you're on a mountain, it's going to be colder. And if you're at the beach, it's going to be hotter. But in general, it's a terrarium.
Okay.
We're supposed to
The
live in a
entire thing,
terrarium. So
the
it's
whole thing. I
green
mean,
and yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a self-contained. And if you think about it, like, so basically the fog, there's fog at night, and in the morning it will rise, and that's where you get the moisture from. And it just keeps going up, and then it'll come down again when it's colder at night, like when the sun's gone, and then it'll go back up. And yeah.
Right. And is the solar flash gonna speed up the demolishing of the dome, or is that connected in any way?
Yeah. I don't think the dome is going to survive the solar flash. So the dome, the frequencies will be too high. And what I get the flash is just light codes coming in, but it's going to increase the consciousness so much that the dome will no longer be there.
Mm.
Yep.
Because part of the reason why the dome is there is because of the consciousness, isn't it?
Correct. Because we're
like,
powering the
right.
frequency. Yep.
Yeah. So is this going to be some? Are we going to know? Are people? Are we going to feel it, or are we going to know that it's happened, or are there little mini flashes that have already happened that are continuing to happen?
People have seen some of the holes, but then they cover them up really quick. So the sky is not going to look the same at all. It'll be kind of a periwinkle, which is like a purpley blue color, and the planets will be really close to us. So we'll see them, but the stars will be further away. So the sky is going to look completely different, and the day is going to last longer.
Yeah. Are the stars what we think of stars are not really stars, are they?
No,
You
they're
know what I mean?
holographic.
The whole
But
thing. Okay.
they are real, like, they're real, but not what we see. So they're real, but they're out there further. So they're further out. And that's why astrology is still, somewhat correct. Like it's still considered the clock of the universe.
It's like when you see on those nights that you can see different planets. Remember a few years ago when Saturn and Jupiter came together really close?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do remember that. And you could see him. So that was a
Yeah,
hologram.
that was a hologram. But did that
Yeah.
actually happen in the real world? Did
Yeah.
that actually happen? It did.
Yep.
So what we see is a holographic representation of what's happening in the real world, although
Right.
it's such a such a crazy thing to
And
wrap
it's
your mind
so
around.
that they can kind of still keep track of, their own stuff. Like the elites have done that so that they can still keep track of what's really going on outside. Because that's how they operate. They operate by the astrology and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that the dome wasn't there when that happened. Would we be able to see it happen, and would it be much bigger if that were the case? Would
Huge.
they'd be much bigger, and you'd be able to see them?
And much more detail.
Yeah.
So when I was in Morocco, this guy came and he was a astronomer, right? So he brought his telescope, and all of us got to go far away from the tents and look, and we saw Saturn, and it didn't even look real.
Yeah, with the rings and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like a cartoon to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then there was something up in the sky that he couldn't explain. So, and we didn't want to upset him, because I think it would have upset him quite a bit to get him to admit that it was like a UFO or something. He's like, I don't know what that is, but it's nothing.
What was it doing? Was it moving
It
or?
was blinking,
Yeah.
and we're like, what's that? What's that? Can we put and he couldn't really maneuver the telescope around fast enough. I don't think he wanted to either. So
It's really
we
funny, isn't
didn't
it?
push him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. So what you're saying is that he didn't want to admit that there was a lot of life out there, perhaps.
Right. But there was other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like that. They don't want to know. It's too much.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy that someone could be that interested in outer space, but at the same time, also think that there's nothing else out there.
Right. And we're the only ones, because there's
Yeah.
like billions of stars out there, but we're the only being that exists.
Yeah. So there are actually billions of stars out there then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's tons.
So
Tons
it's like
of stuff out
what
there.
they've told us is partially true.
Yeah.
In terms of there are billions of stars out there. The Earth is actually round. It does rotate around the sun and things like
Yeah,
that.
it's somewhat round. I mean, it's like a donut, basically. The Earth is shaped like this, and this is the
Oh
center.
yeah.
But it does have a roundish shape, just like your own toroidal field. The Earth is
Oh yeah.
the same.
Does it
Yeah.
have a hole in the middle though?
Yeah. It's
It
very
does have a hole.
small, but there is a hole.
Okay.
Yeah. and there's a mountain in the middle of it here. So everybody's favorite tarot reader did a little show on that. And it's Mount Meru. And she didn't get that. They were just trying to figure out what Mount Meru was. But I tuned into it, and basically it's like, my cat's freaking out. Basically it's where people would go to have their life review. So it's in the center of Earth.
After they pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
It's a beautiful place. Yeah.
How long does the life review last for? In Earth days?
A couple of weeks in Earth, like.
Earth time.
Yeah, it takes a little time.
Okay.
They kind of go through everything, and if you can forgive yourself for everything while you're there, then you just get rid of all your karma. But I feel like a lot of people weren't able to do that because they were stuck in that reincarnation wheel.
Is it true that when you go and have the life review, you end up feeling everything that you've ever caused anybody to feel throughout your lifetime? Is that?
I
I
don't get that, but you get to
so
the big events that you've participated in, especially if you were mean to other people, you got to feel what that caused.
Right. Okay, so the big ones.
Yeah.
Only the mean ones? I mean, do you get to feel the good ones too?
Yeah, and the good ones too. So I'm going to pause just for a sec. Okay, sorry, I had to take a cat break. So they won't take no for an answer. So
no.
Yeah, the reincarnation wheel really screwed people up.
Will that be, and will be no more?
Gone.
Moving forward, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. While we're on that topic, Jason Q said something you may have heard. He said it a few times. He said that anybody who passed away between, I think, 2014 to 2019 or something is going to come back. Do you think that's possible? And why?
I feel like they would have already been back, because the wheel got taken away in 2021.
Okay.
So basically, if you were of a lower density, so let's say like your third density or fourth density, and that's where you came from, then you didn't know that that was a fake crystal. You thought that was the light. So you went into it, and then you got spit back out into a body again.
Okay. Was the whole idea of us forgetting our previous lives, was that orchestrated too? Or do you know what I mean?
That again?
So when we reincarnate, we forget, most of us, the majority of us would forget our previous lives. Is that part of the reincarnation cycle that was orchestrated?
It's the dome. It's the dome itself.
Right.
So, because there's like a veil. The veil of forgetting is part of the dome. And these people basically, they just can't access it, but their body still carries all of the trauma.
Yeah.
So it's in the subconscious. So they're basically carrying around lifetimes of trauma.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes okay, that makes sense, because they do want us to suffer as much as possible. So
yeah, that was their thing.
Yeah.
But now
they're makes a lot of sense
at this point. So
anybody that passes away now will get the choice to reincarnate, and if they do come back to Earth, then they'll remember everything? Or
as soon as that veil is completely gone, yes. I feel like anybody after like the very beginning of 2021 that passed, I feel like they probably are still with Source. They haven't decided yet. I don't feel like they would just immediately come back in, because it's a stressful time right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't want to come back now.
I know.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
It is very, which is a great segue into the next the next set of questions. So where do you think we're at right now?
Consciousness wise?
Consciousness wise, and also with the entire world in terms of like, what are the next few 6 to 12 months going to look like, do you think, perhaps?
Oh, I feel like good things are coming quite quickly. So we have to get through this yucky period, which, depending on how fast they roll stuff out, which seems fairly fast right now. And their road is clear. So we keep clearing the road for the white hats to get stuff done. And they are pretty optimistic right now, I would say. That's because I keep checking on them every day. And they seem to feel pretty good about what's going on. So I would say the next through February, it'll be fairly icky looking. But most of that will be the awakening process of people who've been asleep. So we may feel fantastic after we just get through a few weeks of grossness, of like heightened stress. And then all of a sudden we're, stuck at home. And then after that, we'll be like, oh, this is great. I'm so happy. But the other people will be going through mourning. So it'll be like somebody passed away, but it'll be their society that passed away, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're going to be stressed.
Yeah. It's very much an entire, it's like a combined spiritual awakening, really, isn't it? What's happening?
Yeah. And their consciousness is dropping right now. So the collective consciousness, I would say they're on the cusp of awakening because they're getting all this information and they don't really want it. So they're kind of freaking out and they're being mean to other people. Like they're taking it out on people that might be awake. They're stressed because there's a thin veil between like their subconscious that knows something's wrong and their conscious mind. So as soon as that veil disappears, it's like massive stress is going to come through. And we just need to let them go through their process. But their consciousness is dropped, which has kind of dropped the consciousness of the whole collective. But don't get sucked into it is the main thing, because they'll bounce once they go through their mourning period.
Yeah, I agree. I experienced the same thing when I had my spiritual awakening. I think I had one morning where I woke up feeling completely energetic and confident and certain, and just driven, and I wanted to go do things. And then at some point, that was like June 2015, somewhere between like that lasted for quite a while, for a couple of years, and then I think it was May, almost 2 years later, I woke up feeling the opposite of that. I'm like, I feel like my consciousness dropped, and I was going backwards, and then that just started a number of months of just the worst life I've ever had. It was just, everything was messed up, and I wasn't having a good time at all. But then on the other side of that, it was amazing. So yeah, I would imagine that the entire world is going through something similar.
Yeah. So I think you hit a deeper layer is what happened for you. Like you got through a deeper layer of awakening, whereas this is going to be their first layer of awakening. But it's going to be pretty stressful because it's almost like a Band-Aid is getting taken away. And we didn't have to do that. We got to drip through it. But they're not going to get that choice. So there's going to be a lot of stress.
Yeah, for sure. When you're forced to do something, I kind of, even though I was on that journey, I didn't realize it was going to happen. I wasn't necessarily prepared for it either, made it consciously. So it was still very traumatic and a big surprise. I didn't really work out what had happened until after I'd had after I pieced it all together. When you look back, you're like, oh, you pieced it all together, and you kind of go, okay, that makes sense now. Like, but at the time, you're in no man's land. You've got no idea what's going on. So it's very traumatic. Let's let's pretend for a moment that the we'll call them the nefarious ones. I don't want to trigger anything, but I think everybody knows what I mean when I say that.
Yeah.
Let's pretend for a moment that they were in control of everything. What would we be seeing in the media and around the world at this point in time if that were the case?
We'd be seeing a lot of the same stuff, but it would be ramped up and it would actually be happening. So, and a lot of us would be gone. Like we wouldn't have been
Yeah.
allowed to be here. We would have been unalived, as they say. So, during this trip that I just left for, nobody ever asked me about my status, with this. I wasn't asked once about that. And I went through country after country. So there's a lot of stuff that's being said that is not being carried through with at all. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting how hyped up stuff is, but it's not actually happening.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely in your country, you guys haven't officially gotten rid of the requirement to have that to enter the country, but a lot of people are getting in without it.
Yeah. A lot of people are. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that in some of the countries, like I went to Germany and Switzerland, Morocco, what else? Canada. I was in all those countries and never once was it ever mentioned.
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
and I just went through with the intention, well, if I'm supposed to go, then it'll just be fine.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
it
a good way
wasn't
to
any
go.
problem at all.
Yeah.
So, and they looked at my passport over and over again, stamping on the passport, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I made another one. So, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then what's everybody's seeing the stuff that's going on in China, maybe not, it seems as though what I find interesting about that situation is that the Chinese people, or this is what the media says anyway, I don't know if it's true, but it could be true, that they're calling for Xi to resign. And
I think that's a lot of that is fake. I feel like a lot of the footage is old and not necessarily exactly like real to now. But I feel like it's part of the movie, and that country needs to kind of crash. It's really important that it crash because of what it is, what the government is there. So this is kind of the vehicle getting that to happen. But a lot of the stuff that's going on around the world, some of it's pretty real, but some of it is amped up and not as real. So I get like 25% of that is true.
actually welding people's doors shut so they can't escape.
Yeah, I don't get that. I feel
No.
like that's not real. Yeah,
It's pretty
insane.
drastic. Yeah, drastic if it
Yeah.
is. I mean, I've seen videos of them doing it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but I feel like it's staged. So that feels
right.
staged. This is part of the creation of the collapse. And
Yeah.
it'll probably go on all around us, and then all of a sudden it'll be everywhere and just done.
Mm.
And that could go very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, because we've only got 1 month of the year left.
Yeah.
And that Alex Collier video I sent you, where he was talking about it was going to get wrapped up in December, I'm pretty sure that was an old video from last year. So that
I
didn't
feel like
happen.
it's fairly accurate, actually.
Was he referring to this December or last December? Because I'm pretty sure I saw that before the end of last year as well.
Well, I know somebody else that's been getting it's done in December at the end of this year.
Mm.
And I'm getting that too. The thing about the future is that time is not recognized on the other side. So you're getting your information from the other side. But as it looks right now, I would say there will be a wrap up rather soon.
Because a worldwide sickness can only last so many years. You know, you can look throughout history, we've had some big ones, and it's pretty much every 100 years they have one.
Yeah.
So
I feel like people have had it too. They're just like, I'm not doing it anymore. And that might be the culmination of people saying no and the military getting involved. But they're starting to get involved in other countries already.
yeah, like Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad that it's taken 3 years for people to actually go, okay, I've had enough of this now. You know, like people are very,
They're like
what's the
frogs
word?
in a pot,
Yeah, but they're
you know,
very, um, what's the word I'm looking for?
apathetic, maybe. I don't know.
No, yeah, apathetic, but also they're willing to put up with a lot. There's a word
Yeah,
for that.
especially if it happens slowly over time. And that's why there needs to be some sort of shocking event.
Tolerant is
Yeah,
the
they're
word I was
too
looking for.
tolerant. Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the human like condition. Because if you look at the way humans have had to live, like we're the only species that pays to live here. We're basically paying out half of our income to nefarious
Mm.
people,
Mm.
so it's massive, but nobody pays attention because they're kept so busy.
Yeah,
So it's bound to fail at some point, and we're at that point where it's about to fail.
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. 'Cause
And the
nothing
sooner the
annoys me.
better for humanity, really.
Yeah, nothing annoys me more uh, than, well, one of the things. But what knowing that if I pay my tax, that the money's going to go fund a war, or or buy billions of millions of injections and things like, that really annoys me because like
It is,
all that
yeah.
money, our country alone spent nearly $1 trillion on the response to the last 3 years. Uh, that's just obscene. And you look at all the other countries who would have spent somewhere, maybe more, maybe less,
Maybe
but
more.
we're
Yeah.
talking about tens of trillions, perhaps even hundreds of trillions of dollars on this thing. Imagine how, like, only a fraction of that we could solve so many problems, in
Yeah.
the world with a fraction of that money.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. And meanwhile, the people at the top are getting richer at the same time because we're paying for it all. So,
Yep.
mm,
That's about to flip. I mean, the meek will inherit the earth, but it is a dramatic switch that has to come to pass. So
yeah,
it does feel soon, though. It feels really, and I hate saying that word, because that's what higher self. It's soon. But
yeah,
it is coming, and it is looking better every day. I mean, that's the main thing. You want to say, wow, look at that. That just came out. It's fabulous. This is coming out. This is coming out. This is happening. It's looking good.
mm,
And the white hats really need faith. They need us to have some faith in them because they're finally kind of freed up to do it. I feel like there's been a lot of things in the way.
yeah.
So,
Must be also the added stress of just deciding when to rip the band-aid off, because you can imagine when you're dealing with billions of people who the majority of them aren't ready
yeah.
in many ways. You just like, well, we have to do it sometime,
Well, and they need to do it before the solar flash so that people have time to heal a little bit before that happens. Because that's a lot of information to be taking in if you're in a bad mood or in a bad place.
Mm.
So it's going to be like a dichotomy, like good information coming in, but you're in a crappy space, headspace. It's not, it's going to be more painful to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's already so much to deal with. And if
There is.
if you're compounding that with everything's a lie, then
Yeah. Well, and I feel like there's enough people talking about it now, and there's like, yay, Kanye.
right, yeah.
And Ice-T, is that his name?
Ice
There's a
Cube,
lot
Ice
of
Cube.
Ice Cube. There's a lot of people that are bringing things to the masses in a bigger way, and like Elon Musk and all of that stuff is really helping, and it's being pushed really hard.
Mm.
So they're not stopping. They're just going to keep pushing it, and things are getting exposed at a rapid rate.
Yeah, I think that I feel like, especially the thing with that fashion house that just came under
Mhm.
fire for that ad campaign. I feel like these people were going to do that anyway. It's just that people are so much more on the ball now, and
Yeah.
and that they're catching all these little things out. So these businesses that were already aligned to the dark are just doing what they do, but they're really just digging their own grave.
Part of it, I do feel like they're getting pushed to go all the way with their stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's some internal like pushing. You have to expose yourself now. And that's how a lot
Hmm.
of corporations are going to fail.
Yeah, because Converse, the shoe company, they brought out an ad campaign. It's been last year, so maybe about a year ago, and the whole thing was just so satanic. They had these these people in black clothing with black eyes, and they looked just it was gross.
Yeah.
And you see all the comments, and people are like, "This is like you just lost me as a customer." Like all these different things. Uh, so all these companies are doing it, but they're doing it. Uh, you know, they're doing it
I
to
don't think it's
themselves.
going to be so hidden anymore though, because they're also talking about so that fashion place, which I won't mention just because I don't know, it's probably being watched, that word. But that fashion house is owned by all these, like is owned by this company that owns all this other stuff. And
Mm,
that's being exposed. So not only will that be in trouble, but all the rest of it will be in trouble. And then if you think about Black and Rock and Van and Guard, they're they're not doing good. And I feel like they've
mm,
been taken over by the white hats. So they own almost everything.
true. Yeah.
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 So all this stuff is being pushed to the surface so everybody can look at it. And they're going to see who's really been running the world. And that's going to be a really painful realization.
Yeah. I also think that um, because we're seeing a lot of celebrities talk about uh, or produce content, perhaps, or post photos where they're doing some, let's call them very interesting things,
Yeah.
ritualistically. Uh, I think that's also part of the push to normalize it, so people accept it more as well. But what they don't realize, or they weren't probably counting on, was like, yeah, they can try and normalize it, but at some point, people are just going to go, "This is insane." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, at the bottom line is that even if you're asleep, you still love your children.
mm,
So they're not going to put up with that stuff when it gets to that point. Like they're just not.
yeah, and
So
that's why the entire thing is doomed to fail. Uh, do you think that it would have failed anyway if we didn't have white hair help, or do you
I think
think,
it would have, but it would have been a lot harder.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Humanity would have been a much smaller portion of it getting through it. Yeah.
Because I think logistically, while I could see, on one hand, I can see it being rolled out because they have so much, they're so well connected and they're very well resourced and they have so much what we think is power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do these things, and they do in many ways because they control everything. So all they need to do is just get the business or the organization or whatever it is to just push that agenda, and they can see how it would work. But in also on the other hand, I feel like from a logistics standpoint, it's so intricate and so detailed that they haven't got all their ducks lined up. You know, they haven't got
No.
everything, and it just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't work. But they could try, and yeah, they might make some headway for sure. Probably more than they would have without the hats. But I just don't see it coming to fruition in the way that they intended.
Mm-mm. Well, and ultimately, who's in charge? God
God,
source is in charge.
yeah,
So that's where that flash is coming from. And they couldn't beat that. There's no way they could do anything about it. That was their whole like, oh, we're going to block out the sun or whatever. That's not going
yeah,
to work because their whole little dome is gone. So
right.
no matter what they did, they were going to be defeated.
But hasn't this kind of thing happened before in some planets? So it actually has happened, or
So the dome is a unique situation. It was put up to save the planet because the Anunnaki were fighting with each other and they had
yeah,
discovered nuclear weapons. So basically, they were hurting the planet and hurting
mm,
each other massively and the humans that were here. So that's why it got put up. It was a prison. It's like, okay, you have to learn to not be this way anymore. So they got stuck in this dome. And the reason that human beings are in here is because they had agreed to be a slave for that lifetime. So
mm,
they could have come out if they hadn't put up that stupid reincarnation wheel.
oh, yeah.
So
So
really the Anunnaki or elites um, really just created absolute chaos. And then they let the Greys in on top of
mm.
it.
So, but aren't there some realms or some planets perhaps that the AI has completely taken over and it's barren?
Yeah,
You know, it's like it's not. So what
there
happened
is
there?
some. There is some. And they'll be dealt with as well. Like for the universe will deal with them. But also there's a lot of Earth-like planets that are actually ascending right now as well, but they don't have a dome on them. So it's not as
So those
hard.
are those civilizations further ahead technologically than we are then because of that
Yeah,
reason?
they're further
Or
ahead. And also they're getting the real sun. So they have an
yeah, yeah,
actual
yeah.
star and they're getting all the real light codes and stuff. Whereas we've been getting not all of them at once. So yeah, it's going to be a little more of a challenge. But our bodies are ready. And pretty soon the emotions will be ready. And then but it's the emotional body that's going to get like massively upgraded during that light code thing. So the
Yeah.
solar flash. And some people won't be able to handle it, and that will be their choice. Maybe they didn't choose to be here, but it's going to be
Mm,
a big event for people. Some people will just fall asleep and be asleep for a while because their body will go through so much upgrading.
mm,
But a lot of people are already at 100%,
yeah.
and that's mostly awakened people.
What percentage of the world do you think would be in that situation, in that position?
The sleepers, I feel like they're in between 60 and 70 at this point if they're going to ascend. So if
Mm,
you're in service to others versus service to self, service to others are going. They're ascending. Um, so they're between 60 and 70 right now. And over the next few months, they're going to get further and further along that. But if they're not at 90 by the time that flash hits, then they're going to be sleeping. And it's kind of like having the flu or something. Like you can still get up and maybe go to the bathroom and take a drink of water, but it's like, I'm so tired, I just have to go right back to bed.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be doing that well. Their body's going to be under stress.
Okay. So people that are already kind of feeling very tired or having a lot of naps, you think they're upgrading now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're either upgrading or they're detoxing. So once we hit 100%, then we went through the 6 weeks of detox, and I'm not even done with that yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
very weird. And then there's the emotional body that has to finish all of its stuff. And it's a process.
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like we're doing really well. And the drop in consciousness was inevitable because people are about to awaken and they really are not wanting to. A lot of these people, like they're really trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's part of it, isn't it? Because it's not a linear thing, is it? It's quite static. So
yeah,
it can be, yeah, it's definitely a journey.
it's a big journey. Yep.
Mm,
We're doing good though. Doing good.
well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So those are all the questions I had, actually.
Okay. Well, we've hit an hour, so I think we did great. And I really appreciate you coming. And David's got a great channel, which we'll have below. So I really feel like you're going to be doing a lot of frequency things in the future. So your music is going to become more and more frequency based.
Okay.
But I would definitely go listen to David's stuff. Yeah, it's really good. I'm always sharing it on my Telegram channel.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just released a song about my cousin who passed away almost a year ago to the day. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it took me a while to release that one, but it, finished. We played it at the funeral actually earlier
Oh,
this
that was
year,
good.
and
Well, and he didn't have to go through the reincarnation wheel. So that's really good.
yeah,
Yeah. Because that was after.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Well, I was a little bit because he was working in hospitality, so I was concerned that he had to take the thing to continue working, and he probably did, but that's not why he passed away. So
No.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's fine right now. Yep.
yeah,
It's actually like I had a near death experience and um it is so easy and serene and beautiful as you're passing. And because of my density, I wasn't getting stuck either. And I had 3 angels come and visit me before. I think I was 7. So the whole thing was just like, oh, this is so nice. Do I have to go back? You know? And I think people don't realize like how different it really is compared to what we're told. So you get told like, oh, it's the end and it's so horrible and all this kind of stuff because they wanted us to be stuck in the 3D experience, but we are eternal. So we just keep going and going and going. And it's basically like, okay, I'm graduating out of the 3rd grade. I'm going into the 4th grade. So I'm going to get a new body and I'm going to do that grade next. And that's more what the experience is actually like.
and you would remember, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't be in the reincarnation cycle.
Right.
You'd actually be able to grow on your previous life, and for everyone that happens after that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the veil.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a hard lifetime. I get a life in the dome is between 10 and 15 lifetimes of learning.
Okay,
A
wow.
lot of stuff packed in a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Because 80 to 100 years or whatever, however long somebody lives
Yeah,
for.
that's not normal either, because normally you should be living close to 1,000 years.
Yeah, right.
So,
And we're going to be, are we going to be like looking like this for the rest of our lives, or?
well, I'm gonna look a little younger. But you can look just the same. I figure I always get 25 to 35 will be the age range that people look, and basically
Yeah.
continuously until they decide to pass.
And you
Yeah.
can decide that. You
Yeah.
can decide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll go back to the original people's way. And basically, you just said, okay, let's have a party. I'm deciding to leave tomorrow or tonight. And
Okay.
then they pass and that's it. They're going
And then
on
you
to
go
their
and
next life.
start a new journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. It'll be really good. A lot better. A lot more real, I feel like, and not so traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was good, David. So I'm glad that we
Yeah.
got together. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for all the questions. And I hope
Yeah.
everybody enjoyed it, and we will see you soon. Bye.